classic Subaru on the ramp that we did a respray on last year or the year before. It's now needing some underside work. Started the job last night and it's looking very rough. We're having to cut bolts off, as you can see. Subframe is disintegrated. It's having a Hardrace rear arm kit. The customer has bought a replacement subframe, but it is from a later model, so we're not sure if that one's going to work. We may have to source another one. But the customer has also started to underseal what he could get to. We've got a new anti-roll bar to go on, got a snap bolt to get out up there. But what I'm going to do on this one is we're going to take the subframe off, and then once obviously the rear end is all clear, I'm going to wire brush everything, clean everything up, see if it needs any welding because it's going for an MOT as well. And then what we're probably going to do is spray seal the underneath for the customer and tidy it all up before reassembling it all. We started it yesterday. Obviously I didn't take a video because I didn't plan on videoing it, but now I thought we'll do a little video and we can show you a bit of a before and after of a bit of a restoration on the rear end of this classic. So we're back on classic Subaru. We've got Aiden in today who's helping. He's wanting to learn about cars, so we've given him a really rusty one to work on. Let's see how he gets on. So when you're trying to get them bolts out, sit it on, but wiggle gun, and that'll allow you to move up and make sure you're fully on it. That's it, keep going. Right, you're on. Use an hammer. Or you can struggle for a bit if you want.
I think I'll pass on that one.
So once we've got the rear subframe off, we are going to clean it up and give it a spray seal on all the rear end before we put all the new stuff on. We're still struggling over there with that bolt.
Yeah, don't want to budge. There we go.
And just make sure you hold arm as well so it doesn't hit you as it comes down.
That is not wanting to go.
See, I can't help you while I'm holding camera. Get it lined up and then wiggle it. That's it, it's going up now, that. Right, that's all. I think if we're getting Aiden to learn how to strip a rusty car down, it needs to be a really rusty one that he struggles with.
It definitely is a really rusty one.
So to get these rear lateral bolts out, they always seize inside the metal housing inside the bush. So the end of the bolt is seized solid in there. So what we have to do is cut it here. You can always get it free in those two knuckles and it's generally free at that end, but we have to cut it here. So Aiden's got the job with a sawzall of standing here for about probably 20 minutes, half an hour, and cutting through and getting it off. Just let go at trigger a sec, I want to check you've got battery. Just press it once, pull it off and press it once. Yeah, battery's flat, thought so. So, now you got a full battery, it might work. Oh, you're going to have numb hands by end of it. Put a bit of oil onto Aid cutting. So after a few minutes of letting him cut with a blunt blade and having a laugh at him, I've given him a new blade so he can actually cut fruit bolt. And he has moaned a lot and said his arms hurt, and he's finding out that working on cars, rusty cars especially, is not as fun as he thought it would be.
Yeah, my arms are in bits. Absolutely killing.
One eternity later.
So we're now going to put a little bit of heat on the 217mm for the diff carrier, and we're going to see if Aiden's had his Weetabix this morning and whether he can actually crack them off even when they've been heated up. Go on, you're near rubber. That one's gone. Right, let me do the other one. Got to be careful here because we're eating right next to rubber. So they've gone nice and easy. Phone always rings as soon as you start recording. We're technically closed now, so phones are off for rest at day, so we have no more interruptions.
We better get in a ratchet on this.
If you can get in with one. I'll grab a 17.
Could be a step ladder.
That's what happens when you're short.
I'll grow one day.
As we're dropping all this, we are going to need a support for diff. So what we need to do now is get these off, which will be 19s. Yeah, they may come off nice and easy. They may take as long as it took you to take that bolt out that you were cutting.
30 seconds.
Let's go and get, might be 18s actually, not 19s. It might be a 14 by the time we've done. We'll try 17. We'll get there eventually.
Keep rocking.
I actually think they're genuinely 17s.
Hello.
Yeah. And I were just getting the wrong size. We've got new ones of them to go in anyway. Right, see if you can get other 3 out then now. Is it awkward? You should be able to get on. I'll pull that out of the way. Yeah, you'll have to wiggle it like you did on the other ones and bolt will work up then. Yep, you're on I think. Stop, because you're rounding it and now we'll not be able to get it out.
Shit.
That's why I said whoa, 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 whoa. You were too excited, weren't you? That's what you get letting an apprentice take a bolt out. It all goes wrong. Hopefully, we can still get it. There we go. I mean, this side, they're even worse. I'd be very surprised if a 17 works on this side. It ain't gonna work on that one. In fact, I'm gonna go and get a proper hammer. You like to bring toy hammers?
They were all out in our gym this morning night, bro.
That ones you got out yesterday. Let's hope these come out. Nope. That was going to be fun. Because that is not a 17 anymore. Let's try a 16. then a 14, and we'll just keep going until we get one. That's definitely got 1 millimetre of corrosion. Because that 16 got it perfectly. Shall we watch you struggle get that out now? That's the thing when you're trying to do restoration work on an old Subaru. Lots of rust, lots of corroded bolts. And it's an absolute nightmare to actually get it off. I think this one's going to be a 16 as well. Potentially. As long as this one comes out, we're well on his way. Try it stronger gun. There we go. So, we're now loose, and then we'll have to see if the second-hand subframe, which the customer said came off a grey import, will fit this UK model. I'm not convinced it will, but we can try. I might let you loose on power tools soon. What we're going to need to do is to be able to drop this, we need to take these two 14s and drop, mind you, everything's very crusty. My idea was to try and lift this off. See, this is pretty much as low down as diff will hang. And there's not enough, or is there? Can help us lift it out? It may, hang on. We've got to make that clear fuel pump. Fuel tank, should I say. I'm clear on this side. Are you clear on that side? Hang on, there we go. And then under here, we've got a brake pipe that's clearly been replaced at some point, and I've left the old one in.
Not better than a bodge job.
Now, I've seen some things in my time, but they've put a new brake pipe in, which they've kinda bodged off at tank, but they've left the old one in.
And not used any old fittings or old.
So we'll take that out, and then we'll have a good clean up of everything underneath, and then we're gonna get an underseal. So now we're ready to do some cleaning, just get rid of any loose rust on underneath before we spray seal it and before we put subframe on. Just a case of cleaning up. It's a little bit ropey there, but it hasn't gone through, it is double skinned, so we're going to clean that up best we can and spray seal it. It is underneath and hidden anyway, but we will do the best we can with that. We've supplied Aiden with a mask and he's wearing his glasses. We've got to have him all the PPE he needs. So we've got all the underside cleaned up now, all the loose rust off. And we've got some rough masking out so that we don't get paint and underseal on things that we shouldn't. We are using, it's a hard drying underseal. It's like a spray seal, so it gives you a lovely black texture. You can get it in other colours, but we're using black. So you put a lovely textured black finish on there, it makes it look nice and neat, and it dries hard. Obviously stones rebound off it. It's a really good underseal and it's what the dealers use. So let's get on with it. So we're using a CCHEM spray sealer in black, and we're using their gun as well. So while Aiden's doing some disc and pads on the front of a Zafira, Vivaro in fact, not Zafira, then I have got the undercoat or the spray seal done underneath. So we've got a lovely coat of black all over everything. We have gone down chassis rails and done the bottom corners that have previously been welded in the bottom of the tubs Just starting to show a little bit of surface rust, so we've given them another seal over. Obviously done the chassis legs down both sides. We can't get above tank. We are dropping tank. I'm not really charging customer for this. It's just while we dropped the subframe, he was starting doing some undersealing on. So I've just done a good deed and just get it a quick coat of spray seal underneath for him, so that once his new subframe's on, the underneath of the rear of this looks very nice. Right, it's now time to see if this subframe will fit. Need to try and get it in without damaging any of the paint we've just done. I've got some bolts ready. Let's see if I can get these started. One. Well, that's what we're going to find out. I'm hoping it does, but I'm not sure it's gonna. It's gonna be not great if it don't. Right, you can let go. No, we're not gonna fit.
What about if you drop subframe slightly, push diff up and then secure subframe?
No, because it's going to be too far back. The point is it isn't going to fit. It's not going to fit in that subframe.
What's this subframe after?
So we've established this subframe's not going to work, which is not good news for the customer, because his old one is not really in one piece. We're going to have to revisit this. So, Aiden, the apprentice, was right and I was wrong. Once we'd lowered the subframe back down, it does mount. Now what we do need to order, at the minute, we're just putting some bolts in to hold the diff bracket on, because the studs on the diff for this subframe are shorter. Let's see if I can see where I've put the others. So these studs thread into the diff on the coarser thread, and then the finer thread is what you put the nut on. But because it hasn't got a bush in the subframe on this one, then it needs a shorter version of that, which I'm going to order and put in when they arrive, but we're going to temporarily put it on bolts. But the new subframe is on. We've got a Hardrace arm kit to put on as well. So we're making progress. And as I said, Aiden was right, and he's been grinning a while about it, and I was wrong.
Feeling smug. Feeling very smug.
So now we've got the subframe on, I'm going to torque up the subframe bolts. I generally torque these to 110 Newton meters. I don't think there's an actual torque setting. But you can use experience. There we go. Same on the others. There we go. So now we've got the subframe tight. We no longer need the stand under. The diff's now supported. And it's a case of building up the rest of the arms and getting everything bolted on. So we've got the rest of this put together. We've now got the mounting brackets for the anti-roll bar, all new hardware, bolts, everything to put that up nice and neatly. We've got the rest of this to finish off ourselves because Aiden has left us. He's gone to play paddleball with his pals. It's a Saturday afternoon, you can't begrudge him that. So let's get on with it. So these are marked. Don't know if you can see it on the camera, but they've got right and left on them and pointing forward for front. So you need to make sure this is the right hand one. And we are, since we had so much problems with the bolts, is we're going to put a bit of copper slip on each of them. One of these is awkward to get to. I'm going to start them with my fingers. The spray sealer we've put on should have just about gone off and dried now. It'll not be 100% dry, but it'll be more or less there. I'm just trying to get these bolts in without messing up the finish on the spray seal, because I'm very particular. For some reason I'm really struggling to start this one off. There we go. And then for this side I'll nip it with a ratchet, but the back one we will need a ratchet spanner, angled ratchet spanner, because you can't really get in because the fuel filler pipe is in the way. And this is awkward to get to, but just about getting to it. It's picked up a little bit on the threads, to be fair, even though I've greased it. Ironically, that bolt comes straight out when we were taking the old one out. We're just about there now. Keep headbutting the light. It's really awkward to get to this. Everything is fairly easy to get to on this when you're doing this job, other than this bolt. But taking the fuel filler pipe off is not an option. It's fairly corroded. It would disintegrate in the process of doing it.
Much later.
There we go, that's now tight. Getting too old for this. And then nip this one. There we go. Now on the other side, same again. A little bit of copper grease on the threads. We'll reposition you. And again, on this one, it says left hand and facing forward. You need to get that the right way. Get this one started. And then get the other one started. It's a good job. The customer on this one did bring new hardware, because there was no way we would have got these on and off with the old hardware. The bolts were just too rotten. The brackets was pretty much disintegrated. And if we're doing the job, it just makes a lot better job when you do it properly. So that's the mounts on for the anti-roll bar. So the next job, we're going to unbox the Hardrace kit we've got, get it all laid out on the floor and show you the new pieces that's going on. So we're unboxing the Hardrace 6155 rear arm kit, so you can see what we got. Once you open the main box, you get 3 boxes. So in one box, you get your drop links. You also get a bracket for if you have the level sensor on the rear for the lights. That's a new bit in the kit that you didn't used to get. And also you get 2 of the arms. So in this box you're getting the 2 arms, the rear drop links, get them out of the bag ready. So the rear fully adjustable drop links, the bracket, which this hasn't got the headlight leveling, so we don't need that on this job, but it's handy to have. And these are the brackets that fit on the rear of the hubs to allow the new drop links to work. Now in the second box we've got the new trailing arms. Again, I believe these are powder coated, possibly painted, but more than likely powder coated. So we don't want to damage them, so I'm just placing these carefully on the boxes. Obviously they come all bubble wrapped up. So there is the pair of arms. Some more rubbish. And in the final and third box, you get a Hardrace sticker. And the other arms. These arms are fully adjustable. We've fitted loads of these. I always tend to grease these when I fit them now because they look lovely now, but they do tend to go rusty fairly easily. It's the only thing I don't like about the Hardrace arms. I guess it's inevitable with the roads in this country, but that is what we have. So let's get you off the gimbal, show you what we have. So obviously we've got the drop links, we've got both sets of arms, front and rear, the lateral arms, the drop links, and if you have a later model with headlight leveling, you will need that for the level sensor. That just fits, you unscrew one of those off the end, and that fits on there and bolts up for your level sensor. We don't need that on this one. But that is the Hardrace 6155 adjustable harm kit. It's the hardened rubber bush kit, not pillar ball. This one's cheaper. I believe this is about £550–600 for the kit now. I will put the price on screen when I do the editing. I'll get the exact price and update that on screen. But what we're replacing, you can see, it's very crusty, very worn. The bushes are terrible, especially on the subframe. The subframe itself has fallen to pieces. It was advised on the last MOT. It needs an MOT now. It's not really safe, that one. It's ready for collapsing in places. So it's great that we've got the second-hand subframe on, which is like a new one. It's from a grey import. And we're obviously we've got a new anti-roll bar over there and the Hardrace kit. So let's take some time, get this kit installed, and then it'll be time to do an alignment. So we're just about to take some measurements off the arms that have come off, and then we can set these arms to the same length. Then obviously we can do an alignment adjustment from there, but we want to get it there or thereabouts from the original arms. We've also got another full hardware kit, all new bolts to put this all back together. And what we've also done is the brackets that hold the trailing arms. We've had them in the blast cabinet, just give them a clean up and then give them a coat of satin black so that they look nice when they go back on as well. Let's get on with fitting them. I'm going to build the trailing arms up first. Obviously we've got new bolts for them. So, just so I don't get this wrong. So, this is the passenger side. and the arm goes like so. I'm not sure. They're a shorter bolt. Ah. Let's get the correct bolts. These are for the other end of the lateral arms. There we go. We've got the right bolts now. That's that one. What I'm going to do with these is I'm just grabbing a 17mm spanner and another 17mm. These, we're just going to nip them up because you can't tighten these up, otherwise you put the bush under stress. So these have to be tightened up on the vehicle while all the weight of the wheel is on the vehicle. Because if you tighten it up in the wrong position, you then put stress on the bush with the weight of the vehicle. So we fit it all up with them still nipped up but loose, and then you do your final tightening when it's lowered down onto the tracking stands and all the weight is on the vehicle. Or all the weight of the vehicle is on the wheels, should we say. Just slacken that one ever so slightly, so we don't want it over tight. There we go, both of them are slack now. So they are built up. Just put them gently down, we don't want to mark the paint. So they are now built and ready to go. These bolts are obviously for the other end. So what we're going to do now, there's two different arms on these. These have got the same size hole, front and back. And then the second set have got the larger and the smaller. The smaller one goes to the inner on the rear. Both large ones need to go on the outer. So effectively on the vehicle, these will be set like that. One of the things I don't get is they have all the stickers lining up apart from that one. Suppose we can match them up by turning that one round, which is what I'm going to do. But those stickers, that sticker should be on that one so that everything matches up. I've got OCD, so I prefer all the stickers to be level, but it's not always the case and you can't always do it. So let's take some measurements. I'm only going to get these rough because obviously we're going to do a four-wheel alignment. But these are the rear arms. So bolt centre to bolt centre, we're looking at 400 and about 4mm. So what you need to do on these is open them up like that. Don't turn one end because you'll uneven the threads. Well, bolt centre to bolt centre. Needs to be wound a little bit more out. That one is now set right. So this side needs to be the same. So they're never tight, you just need to crack them off and then hold them so that you can turn the nut, and that keeps your threads the same. So that one, stop it turning with an old bolt just so we can wind that out to match. That is now matching perfectly. So just take the lock nuts. They obviously turn opposite ways on the threads, but just take the lock nuts. So that nothing's going to spin. So that's the rear set. Now the front ones. Bolt centre to bolt centre is 400 on those. So again, quick measurement. Just make sure that they're loose, and then hold the bottom one with your legs. You can put it in a vise or various other things, but I just find it easy to pop it between the thighs. That's now spot on. So same again. And what I'll do, same to match it up, drop the bolt in that one, and then just turn this one until they line up. So they are now set up. So those arms, just turn these lock nuts. Those arms now are set to the same lengths as the original arms. As I say, we've changed the subframe to a different subframe. Everything looks the same anyway, size wise it bolts up the same, but I just wanted to make sure that we're getting the arms the same length. Just good practice, it means you'll have less adjusting to do when you actually come to do the alignment. So now we're ready, we can get everything fitted on the vehicle. So we've got the new bolts, new hardware for fitting into the chassis. So I'm just putting a little bit of copper grease onto the threads, and we'll then get the arm in place. Using the new hardware. These are 17mm. We have now got to a point where the spray seal should all be touch dry. It's been left a fair few hours. I've done a few various other jobs while it's been drying. And what we can do is get the gun and the long extension, and we'll just nip these up. Just make sure that's a 17, yeah. What I will do with these is torque them up to 110 Newton meters. It tends to be the torque setting I go to on things like this. Again, just a little dab of copper slip on the mounting bolts. Start the back bolt and then get the front ones in. It's always good practice to use new hardware. These Subarus are getting fairly old now. So what were a 17mm head on the bolt when it was new, generally, some of them are still 17s, some are 16s, and some are totally rounded. But when you look under the back of this now, it's going to be a far cry from what it was. Again, there's no torque setting for these, and some people will just gun them up and say that's tight. But I like to torque things so I can have things torqued up, everything's tightened to the same amount. You also know you're not over tightening things then. You don't have to use a torque wrench, you can just do them by hand. And you can do if you haven't got a torque wrench, you can always tighten them up and go click. If you watch legit street cars, Alex has a clicking ratchet that's not a torque wrench. He likes to use that. But an experienced mechanic can do. But having OCD, I just like to do things with a torque wrench. So they're now torqued up. One thing I'm not particularly happy with on this, I'll just bring you in and show you, is the ABS sensors. The brackets have broke off on the front. We've got a bracket on the rear, but there's a bracket broke off here. So where they're supposed to bolt on to the mounting bracket up here, they're not going to bolt on. But once I've got this done and through an MOT, I can speak to the customer and I can say to him, can we put ABS sensors on and new handbrake cables, which will sort all that out. But obviously the main thing is we want to get it through an MOT. And get these bolts on. Again, we'll not fully tighten these. That needs to be done when it's on the ground. Again, we're just going to nip these, because you want everything tightened down. You just want to have a slight bit of movement so that things need the final nip. That's tight enough for that one. Same on this. There we go, so they're on. What I am going to do for the hardware here, I've got some stainless steel bolts, which we generally use when we're replacing this kind of stuff. Got various different ones, which these are a 13mm. So I'm just going to grab a 13mm ratchet spanner, because I don't believe I've got that size out. All the usual stuff is 12mm on a Subaru. All the rust coming off the ABS sensor and the handbrake mount is making the new parts look dirty. Okay, that's that side done. What we need to try and do on here, because we haven't got the front bolt, I need to line this up and it needs to sit in there. But what we're going to have to do is put a tie wrap around which holds that. I mean, they will hold in actually. The way I've tightened that up, that's going to hold in, but we're missing the bracket for the handbrake cable. So I'm going to have to do something possibly with a tie wrap as a temporary fix for the handbrake cable. I'm going to speak to the customer might just tell me to get them, but obviously it depends what his budget is right now, and if he has the money to do it, because ABS sensors and handbrake cables and fitting is going to add a fair amount of money onto what's already an expensive job. And we've still got to get an MOT done, and I've got to do a little bit of welding on the front for it. Possibly do a video on that and show you later as well. we always grease these stainless nuts before we put them in, and obviously being stainless, they'll not rust. So I'll just bring you in again and show you. So you can see, got the lateral arm on, got a 30mm stainless bolt. That should have another bolt up there, but the bracket broke off. Obviously the brackets are all broken up here and rotted away. That's why we need the ABS sensor and the handbrake cable to replace these brackets so they can be bolted on properly. But again, that's something we need to discuss with the customer. I mean, what we're going to have on the back of this, it's going to be so much better than it was. The customer wanted it refreshing, which we are doing, and obviously they'd advised that it needed doing for the MOT. So let me make sure I get this right. The bolts themselves are a bit awkward to get in. It's going to be very awkward to get in actually. I'd forgotten about this. What I am going to do is slacken these two 18s, and then I can put the stand back under and I can find the 18 spanner. So if I just slacken these again, that gives us a little bit of movement on the diff. Oh, it's been a while since I've done one of these. By pushing this up slightly, you can just wiggle and work the bolt in. There we go. And now I've forgot where I put my bits down. There we go. Again, all new hardware. Nobody saw that. As a mechanic, you bang your head multiple times on jobs. That's probably why we're all brain damaged. So the originals are not in too bad a condition. So, and they're a 10mm, and they hold the heat shield. It's always a 10mm you can't find. Why is it always a 10mm? So we've got the 13. It's always the elusive 10mm. There we go, I believe we have it. Or is that an 11? No, that's an 11. The 10mm that we used earlier is missing. So we will get this one. There we go, that's one. And then let's get the other one in. Well, that's bolted back up now. See if we can lose this 10mm as well. The front arm for this side, which has the elongated bolt for the adjustment, which we don't really need adjustment on these now because obviously we've put adjustable arms on. So because of my OCD, these are going to be adjusted exactly the same on both sides, and then we'll use the actual arm adjustment for any adjustment required. So on these, you have an elongated washer to go on the back as well, which you need to line up the same as the front bolt. There we go, bolt in, washer on. And then you have quite a heavy duty thick washer, and then a 17mm, which again, when I find my 2 spanners again, we'll just nip those up so that none of the washers come out. So 22 on that side. I'll just grab a 22. See, most people are going to be watching the England game now, and I'm here doing a video for YouTube. There we go. So then that lines up there, and we have the new lateral bolt. Now what we do with these is grease them before they go in. What that does is stops them from seizing inside the metal sleeve. So we do the whole bolt, because then it doesn't seize in the sleeve, it doesn't seize in the hub, and hopefully if it has to come out for anything else, then it's relatively easy to do. It can be a little bit tight to get in, so I need to be more organised. I'm looking for my 17mm again. That's an 18. I'm sure it's a 17. No, it's a 19, so I need my 19mm. There we go. So these can be tight to get in. It's sometimes just easier. See, what I'm going to do on this one, it's not quite wanting to go through from the adjustment that we've done in here. So I'm just going to slacken the nuts off slightly, and then can adjust it to take the bolt better. Can be a little bit fiddly, these, but sometimes they just need a little bit of persuasion. Let's extend it a little bit. This is where I look silly now and can't get this in, because it should. It just doesn't want to go. Hang on a minute. Idiot boy, he has put the arm on the wrong way. All what I said about the larger hole goes to the centre. Yeah, should have listened to my own advice. You know what, guys, I'm going to leave that bit in so you can all have a laugh. Now I can't get the other bolt back out. Don't you just love it? Working on cars on a Saturday evening when you should be at home. And now I can't get the bolt back out. Let's see if we can lift the diff up a bit more again. There we go, we're nearly out now. Have I got, yep. Idiot boy is the wrong way around. So guys, if you put that arm on correctly, the bolt will drop in. There we go. It's been a long day. That's my excuse. It's been a long day. There we go. So that is that side on. So now it's time to get the other side on. Just reposition you so you can get a better look. On this side, I'm going to put the right bolt in the right place. So the smaller hole to the inside and the larger hole to the outside. Again, it is tight with the drive shaft, but you can get it in. It does take some persuading, but it does go just. So again, these ones, we've got the washer, the adjustment washer again on the back, which you have to line up with the front of the bolt. That's now done. And then the heavy duty washer on the back. I don't like to pop out, so get that on. And then there we go. And the same again. Copper grease this whole bolt. You don't need to copper grease the threads. It's just literally the bolt itself, just so that it doesn't seize in the hubs or the actual you can use the butt gun. So this arm just needs adjusting in slightly. Without adjusting it in, I'm not going to get the bolt in. But it's fine because we're doing a good alignment on it anyway. So that is now in. And get the washer and the bolt on. And then we can let the diff back down. Now the bolts are in. And then on the main long lateral bolts, I always use spray copper grease just to surround them, just to make sure that everything's nice and greased. So we've got all the arms on now. Obviously we need the weight on to get the bolts tightened up fully. We now, it's one of them days today. I ought to go home and start again. So I forgot to put these on. So we're going to put these on now so we can connect up. So this is the mistakes not to make while you're fitting these. to remember how these go. So these sit over the end like that, and then your bolt goes through. So the error didn't slow me down too much. But I've fitted plenty of these, so I should have realised what I was doing there. But I like to leave in all the slip-ups. We're all human. We all make errors. I definitely do. I'll just get the same bracket on the other side. Just bring your back out a little bit so you can see both sides. And then we can throw the anti-roll bar on. These bolts are always a pain. Any work you do on the rear of a Subaru where you have to remove these, you generally have to cut them off unless they've been off. And that means the sawzall, which I did one side last night and then I left the other side this morning for Aiden to do. He needs to learn that some jobs are an absolute pain in the arse, which he learnt that fast on this job. I asked him if he would put off working on Subarus and cars in general, and he said no, he still enjoys it. The customer did supply some SuperPro bushers, which I'm hoping are correct. It'll be bad to get this far in the job and then have the wrong size bushers. 20mm. I believe that we have an OEM bar here. It has got the OEM sticker on. So with these, you put some lube inside the bush, installation grease, and then you open them up and just snap them around. And then just work the lube in. So we've got the new hardware, copper grease up, as we always do. This is going to be a little bit awkward doing one-handed, but I should be okay. Just rest the bar on there. Make sure that you can see what I'm doing. That's the camera needs repositioning slightly. There we go. Copper grease in the threads and on the bolt. There's the bracket facing forward again. So from what this was looking like before to what it's looking like now, it's amazing. Just a short job like this, just need the 12mm deep. See if the 12mm, no, straight there. So these just need a nip. So the new hardware, there's a 12mm nut on one side and for some reason a 13 on the other. Not a problem, but I thought all the hardware for Subarus was 12s. These may not be genuine nuts, but that doesn't matter. Just get all the spare grease what's come out once we've tightened them up, just to keep it looking clean and fresh. And then we're on the final pieces. Now these are awkward to do. What you need is a 12mm spanner, which should be in here. but I've only got a ratchet one, so I'm just going to go and get the 12. Because I believe I haven't got that out yet. Ah, the 12 is out. It must be on here somewhere. There we go. And again, 13. After all that. 14 even. I haven't got a 14mm spanner. I'm so used to Subaru 12mm nuts. But on this, they had a 14. So what you need to do is drop the nut in on a small spanner and start turning, because it's difficult to start it. There we go, because it's inside the bracket. I'll see if I can bring you up to show you that. So it's inside the bracket. So you've not got that much access. So I do need another 14mm as well, because you have to wind it in. So one thing to not do, you need to use your open-ended on your nut inside the bracket, because if you use the closed end and tighten it all the way in, the spanner gets stuck. I've learnt that the hard way. From the outer, that you can get to. It's a bit awkward, but this is how these arm kits are for the rear drop links. So with your open-ended spanner on, you need to tighten this as much as you can from the outside. That's it. Obviously, it's a lot easier on the other end. We're going to have to adjust these out a little bit probably. There we go. And then same again, but on this one you can hold the 14 and use your ratchet spanner on the top. I've fitted quite a few of these. That drop link does look close. I'm just going to have a look at whether putting the drop link the other way will work, because these fit both ways. So it may be that it's better to fit it on the inside. I would say yes. That to me looks like it'll be way better. So I am going to alter the top one, and I've managed to lose my short 14mm spanner. It's still on there, that's why. I'll be glad when today's over. Again, you can start this one with the rounded spanner, but then you need to take it off. And swap to the open end, because if you do it on the open end, you get stuck. Because the thread is just too long on the inside. It's one thing I remembered, even though I forgot to put the brackets on in the first place. So I forgot the brackets, but remembered how to fasten the drop links to the brackets. I've not fitted one of these sets for quite a while, to be fair. You can see these are a bit fiddly, but not too bad. Yeah, it's definitely going to be better like that. They always do look tight. As in, the drop links always look close to the bottom arm, but once the weight's on and everything lifts up, they're not too bad. So I'm going to switch this one round and run it the other way. Like I say, it's been a while since I've fitted a set of these. And they are obviously non-standard. They're a good upgrade. You don't really get a great deal of adjustment on the rear on these. So it's nice to add the rear arm kit on from Hardrace, which does give you that adjustment. So if we switch that round, hopefully, yep, that fits in. I know this video is going to be a bit of a long one, but for anybody that's wanting to fit a set of these who's never done one before, hopefully it helps you. Gives you an idea on what you need. So again, the drop links I will adjust once we get the car lowered. So that now, new anti-roll bars on, everything's fitted. It's basically time for wheels to go back on now, lower it down and do some nipping of joints. So that's what we're going to do next. It's time to get the wheels on so we can get some weight on so we can tighten everything up under load so it's all done properly. I'm going to be a rebel and just put 3 wheel nuts on. I mean, to be fair, all the wheel nuts can go back on. I don't need to be a rebel because the wheels won't be coming back off. Yeah, we're all good. So we'll actually put them all on. And as we're talking them, I'm just going to back the first 3 that I put in because I did tighten them more. So 110 Newton meters on these. To be honest, the brakes are not in the best condition and we are supposed to be doing an MOT on it. I'm going to do all the work that the customer asked me to and take it for an MOT, and then the brakes will probably go through because they'll clean up a little bit. The car has been stood off the road a while, so hopefully they'll clean up and go through the MOT. So we are now at a point where it's all back together, apart from obviously the exhaust isn't on, but I'm going to leave that out of the way just for now. Put that on last thing. And what we're going to do is we're going to lower the vehicle down onto the alignment stands. Because what that allows us to do is get the vehicle at ride height to tighten all the suspension. because you need the vehicle weight on it to do it. You can do it without, but what you will find is it puts unnecessary stress on the bushes and they will fail early, purely based on the fact that the bushes are stressed. So as soon as we lower this down, all the rear suspension will settle. So we put the handbrake on so it can't roll off, and then what we're going to do is reset the camera up for you underneath the car so you can see what we're doing. So now we've got the weight on the vehicle, all these bushes and arms are all in what you class as rest. So we can now tighten everything up. I'm hoping that I've got enough spanners under here. I believe I have. Although I will need another 19. Just purely and simply because I've only brought one and I need 2. So let's just grab another 19. I hope this is the last one I need to grab. Should be. And what we're doing now is just tightening up the lateral bolts. The big ones that we had to cut out. They're now nipping. That is nipped. On this side, I'm obviously going to be pushing up. But it's very important that these bolts are nipped with the weight of the vehicle. If you don't, it'll not potentially handle correctly, even with a correct alignment, because the bushes are going to be pre-tensioned. They need to be tensioned like this, with the vehicle at rest. There we go, so that's both the laterals done. We now need to start doing all these inner ones. So, if I can grab my 17mm, and I hope I've got my 17 ratchet. I'm getting too old to be getting in and out if I forget on spanners. But when you've forgotten it, you haven't got a choice. I thought I'd grabbed them all, clearly I hadn't. So we have these to do. Which, same again, I believe on these that if you tighten them up with a ring spanner on the back, they will get stuck. Because the thread comes out. So I use the open-ended. So what I am going to do is swap the ratchet spanner out now so that I can get some purchase with a longer spanner and make sure that that is tight. Now one thing I'm going to do is get out again for something else that I've forgot. Because what we need here is, when I can find it, the trusty green paint pen. Because what you want to do is mark the bolts with the paint pen running over all my spanners. So what you want to do is mark the bolts when you've tightened them so that you don't miss any, and you can see instantly if any have come loose. So that one's marked. We're now going to mark this one. And we'll get this side done, and then we can mark this one as well. It's good practice to paint pen mark all your bolts as you tighten them, because it means you don't miss any. It looks professional. It's what they do in a lot of factories. Again, swap the spanner around from the ratchet so that I can swing on this and get it tight so it's pre-tensioned in the correct place. Again, paint pen mark, and same on the back. There we go. So we've done the lateral bolts, done the inner rears. Now I'm going to set these. So we need the 22 and a 17. There was a 17 ratchet initially, and then swap to the main 17. So what we do with these, normally you do your adjustment on these bolts, but what I'm doing is setting them so that they're centered, because we've got all the adjustment on the arbs themselves. We don't need to do any adjustment on these. So they're now tight. Don't really need to mark these because they've got their own markings. On the front, you only need to mark the back, which I've done that side. As I say, mark as you go, and then that way nothing gets missed. Again, set it so it's at the top. We don't need any adjustment on these because we're using all the adjustment on the arms themselves. Because we've got adjustment front and rear on the bars now, we can also adjust the camber outwards as well as the toe. So there is advantages to this kit because you don't have any camber adjustment really. You might get minute changes in your camber when you're doing an alignment, when you're moving the toe, but in general, that's tight. You'll not get adjustment you want anyway. You'll get minor adjustment, but not what you're actually needing. Again, all marked off. So we've now done all the inner bolts. They're all done and marked off. Next ones is the trailing arm back bolts. I don't know if you can see. I think you probably can. Again, if you set these in the wrong position, you're likely to have a very jumpy car. So it's pretty important that you get these set properly with the car weight on. There we go, that's nipped. Again, on the inner and on the outer, and then move to the other side. Probably can't see me doing this one. It is very difficult to set the camera up in the right place every time for every job on things like this. I'm possibly going to get Aiden to do some filming at some point, which may help us out with that. But I don't know whether it's something he'll be interested in, but we can always ask. And I certainly can't afford to pay a media person. That's tight. I wish we could afford to pay a media person, because then my videos would be a whole lot better. There we go, that's them marked off. So they were torqued. The 3 bolts that hold the bracket onto the body have been torqued previously. They've now been torqued, tightened up with weight on. They've all been tightened. The only ones we've got are these, which are a little bit more awkward, because obviously I've got to get a small spanner in behind the wheel. Should be able to get the ratchet spanner in. Yep, we're all good. The issue I've got is I need to make sure that we don't lock that off against the wheel and then can't get it back out. And we don't want to mark the wheel. So I'm holding that up. This one is a little bit more awkward to do. That is now tight. Again, mark. The outer one's a little bit harder to do, but I have managed to get the paint pen across it. Oh, that one has not marked very brightly, so I'll just blob a bit more on. That's when I forget where I put the paint pen when I come back for it for this one. So again, get the smaller spanner on the outer, and then just hold that in position while I nip up the outer of the bolt. Right, let's get that spanner back on. For somebody who is ambidextrous, left and right-handed, I can do either. I am struggling on this side with this bolt just to get purchase on it. Everything's in the way, but we'll get there. There we go. Paint pen, mark it off, and then mark the outer again. There we go. So, going through again. Done, 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 done. Right, very important not to miss any bolts. Everything is now tight, apart from the drop links, which I'm going to even out now. They're 14 mil, I believe. So on these, adjust them out a little bit. So we've got 4 threads at the top, 3 at the bottom. I'm going to nip them off at that. I believe I need a 17 for the centre bit. So it's a 14 and a 17 you need for locking these off. And I'm moving the whole car doing that now. Because the car is on turn plates. That is now locked off. Just push the car so that it's still in the middle of the turn plate so that we can feel all the adjustment. Check on this side. So we have 4 at the top, 3 at the bottom, so it's matching. It's the other way around, but I'm guessing that is because the drop link's on the other way around. It's the same thing. It doesn't matter as long as it's the same length overall, which it is. I'm guessing I look extremely good doing this while I'm struggling to get in. Like Bambi on ice. There we go. So that drop link's locked off. So every single thing is now locked off. Again, we want the car to be central in the turn plates and still have some movement, which it is. These are what we're going to be adjusting next. Get all the spanners out the way. I believe the 24s. I will go and get some more spanners. So I've got a 24 and a 25. So the nuts are a 24 and the middle bit's a 23. I was nearly right, 23 and 24 instead of a 24 and 25. Right, so we'll try and show you. It's very important that you get the steering wheel straight when doing an alignment. So you clamp the steering wheel off and you have a spirit level on there to make sure that it's done. That's the first part of the alignment. If you don't clamp the steering wheel straight, you're not going to have it straight. The alignment is going to be poor. Then we have to set up all the gauges. I'm just going to get you set up so you can see putting all the gauges on. So the next stage is to get all the gauges set. It'd be much better if I could have somebody filming this who was moving around with a camera and showing where better angles, better views. We do aim to do that as time goes on. So I'm hoping that you will see improvement in that area. As I say, we'll give Aiden the camera and see if he likes doing some filming, and obviously I can film him as well, depending on who's doing the job. So these are a 3-point clamp system. It's a computer alignment system. So it grips on to the tyres. Just have to be careful to make sure you don't scratch anything when you're putting it on, and obviously keep it central. It's also very important that you've got movement in both directions on the turn plates, because if not, the movements that you're making on the alignment will not be correct. Again, an alignment is only as good as the person who's actually doing the alignment. If the person doing the alignment doesn't set it up correctly, doesn't have it on the turn plates correctly, doesn't clamp the steering wheel off, then your alignment's basically pointless. You have to make sure that everything is set and done as it should be. We're using a super tracker system. It's really good for when you're using a 2-post lift and turn plates and tracking tables. It takes a bit longer to set up than a drive-on 4-post ramp, but we don't have access to a 4-post ramp here or the room. We have to have a 2-post for how our workshop is set up. I would like an alignment ramp, but it's just not going to happen. Not while we only have 1 unit anyway. Possibly if we get next door we may go into 2. So all 4 gauges are now on. Again, what I'm going to do is take you over to the alignment computer. So remember, we've got the steering wheel all clamped off, we've got the gauges all on and levelled with a green light in the middle. And then what we need to do is come over to the alignment system. So we need to choose Subaru Impreza. And on here we are on a 2 litre, so we are on a 2000, so it's a classic. 2 litre turbo. Just need to make sure we find the right model on here. Right, these are the later ones, so let's go to the other Impreza. Nope, that's the newer ones. So they are in here somewhere. 2 litre other models, 2 litre turbo, that's the later one. 94 to 2000, it's not an estate, so 2 litre turbo, right hand drive, 94 to 2000. There we go. So you need to make sure that you select the right one. Shows you there at the top, 2 litre turbo, right hand drive, 94 to 2000, which is what it is, the last of the classics. And we need to also tell it that we're running, I think they're 18-inch wheels. Let's just check. There could be 17s. Yep, they are 17s. So set it at 17-inch wheels and click next. There we go. Now we are, and look at the rear. we're out nearly 18 mil, which is to be expected. I mean, the front is also out a mile as well, but that is to do with the rear. Your rear alterations will alter what the front's saying as well. So what we need to do is move this slightly over here and just make sure I don't unplug it. And we have a tangled cable. There we go. I need to move that where it can be seen. Just going to set you back on the tripod. It's going to be difficult, basically. You're not going to be able to see the readings and me adjusting, but I'm going to go under now. And once we reset the rear, that torch is dying. I can see that was mainly for you guys anyway. So what we need to do is we need to get the toe right and the camber. So the first thing to do on these is to wind the outer nuts so that you can play nice and easily with the adjustment. You don't want to be hitting those all the time. They are a little bit finicky, these, because some turn, you have to turn some backwards and some forwards depending on where the arms are. I mean, the right hand side, we're pretty much perfect. We've got 1.28 degrees of camber, so just under 1.5 degrees of camber, which is what you should want. And the toe is more or less bang on. So mainly it's this side where we weigh out. The toe is a fair distance out. But that is easily sorted with adjustable arms, as you can see. But what you need to do is, obviously, we're adjusting toe and camber on the rear with these adjustments, because you don't normally have camber adjustment. So what we need to do is get the toe somewhere close. So the toe is somewhere close now, and what we need to do is match off the cambers. We need to move the camber in slightly on this side, so we need to basically pull it in on both adjustments, on front and rear, because we need to keep the toe the same, but we need to get the camber matching the other side and within tolerance, which is what we're now doing. Just, I have caught the nut that I didn't fully move out of the way. So we are now getting relatively close. So we're now perfect. I'm just going to take you forward so we can show you what we've got readings wise now. So the camber is pretty much 1.5 degrees on both sides. It's just flickering 1.29, 1.3, so we're matched off there, and both toes are on 0.3, which is well in tolerance, well acceptable. Could be, the specification is to be bang zero in the middle, which I can adjust it a slight bit more, but I like to have ever so slight bit of positive toe on the rear. I find the handle better that way. So what we need to do now is lock the rear off and then go to the front. Just wanted to show you the readings so you could see the adjustment and how it had worked. Again, I'd prefer for somebody to be under filming with me, showing the adjustments with a different camera. That will be something that comes at a later date, when we have the ability to do more of that. So now it's a case of locking all the locking bolts off, which we're now doing. Done by hand first, because there's like a little spring washer, so you can nip them to the spring washer. And make sure that your readings are still the same on screen, because they can move slightly as you're nipping things. And then they just need a final nip with a socket, with a spanner. And we are getting a little bit of movement. But to be honest with you, when I'm locking these off, the 0.3 it's taking to 0.1, but then as I've locked the back ones off, it has moved that a little bit more anyway. So it's gone back. So as you lock them off, they do just move ever so slightly. But I want it on 0.3 on both sides. So that's what I've just done. I've just adjusted slightly. There we go. So that is 0.3. So everything is now locked off. You always get movements. They have now moved to 0.04, which is 0.4 of a millimetre. So that's really minor. I'm going to try. You can see I have a lower screen. So I'm going to set you up here so you can see me adjusting on the front. So now we've locked all the rear off. It's asking me to level the heads up again. So we have moved ever so slightly. When I were probably locking off the rear bolts, the car just moved slightly. So they are now all level again. Just make sure I don't kick the camera. So now we're on to the front adjustment, which you can see now we've altered the rear. The front's a lot closer than it was before. Because it's a four-wheel camera system, altering the rear alters the front. You always set the rear up first to get everything straight on the rear, and then with the steering wheel clamped off straight, you go to the front, do the front adjustments, and then this will drive perfectly straight. Just move my mechanics board through. I believe under here we'll be on 19 mils. To be honest with you, we may need some heat on this front area because the track rod ends are not new. They may be free and they may move, but looking at them, I'm guessing they're not. They look fairly ropey. So I'm going to grab 17 and 19 mil because I'm not sure which one it is. Pretty sure they're a 19. And the mole grips and a wire brush, and we'll see if we can crack these off. Just check you've still got everything in shot. You'll be able to just about see me working away under here, but you'll be able to see the adjustment on screen. So these are a 19 mil, but a fairly corroded one. So I'm not sure whether or not. Oh, so the nut's free on this side at least. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to move the nut on the bar. So what we'll do on that is lock the bar off with the mole grips and then see if we can move the nut. No. So we are going to need some heat. Now the issue with putting heat on these is we then have to wait for them to cool before So that one has cracked off as well, but because we're going to have to heat up the nuts to move them, we're going to have to wait for them to cool down then when we set them. Because if you set them while they're hot, it will be different. I've actually got some movement on this side, so let's see what we can do. Now I have set myself so I can't see my own adjustments here because I've set it so you can see them. So let's see what I can do. I'm going to have to move it slightly just so I can see it. So we're on 0.90. I am just going to come out and see if I can set it in a position where we can both see it. Because if you can't see it and I can't see it, then that's a bit pointless. So what I'm going to do, hopefully, you can see them adjusting now. And I'm also in a position where I can see them. If I knew what I was doing with screen recording and things, I could possibly do a screen record for the alignment settings, but that's something I'm guessing I'd need software for. So on this side, we need to wind the nut back a bit. I mean, the rear was nice and easy to adjust, it's all free because it's all brand new, but the front is obviously old. And the nuts are pretty much seized on the bars, even though they've cracked off. But I've got a bit of movement on this one, so I may be able to just about do it without heat, which will mean it's quicker. So this side we've done, and that is locked off again. This side I don't believe I'm going to be able to do without heat, but I will have another go. You never know, I may get it to budge a little bit. No, we're definitely going to need heat on this side, because we're not lucky enough that it's going to go into the right place. So we're going to have to put a little bit of heat on. I don't like using oxyacetylene on alignments, but the only way we can do this one is by using it. There is, I mean, I could advise him to have new tie rods and new track rod ends, but again, we're then getting into the realms of cost. And it may be something that he wants to rebuild the front after we've rebuilt the rear, but I would guess not all at the same time, for obvious reasons. So what I'm going to do is use the oxyacetylene to heat up the nut just ever so slightly, because then what that will do is it will allow us to do the adjustment. But once we've got the nut moving, we will then have to wait for it to cool back down, and you can watch the actual settings change, because you will see that when I heat this up, it's currently on 1, and as I heat this up it will change, because metal expands with heat. I don't want to put much heat in if I can help it. But you can already see it's gone to 0.6. So I'm just going to see if we can get that to move now. Oh yes, just. That is still mega tight though. To be honest, let's see. You see that as it cools now is going to move. and I am going to have to adjust the other side, because as I say, all the sides are connected, so when you adjust one you have to adjust the other. So this one, luckily we have got some movement on. That one is on 0, that one is on 0.2, minus 0.2 mil. I shouldn't need the heat again, as long as when it cools it will still move. But we'll probably see that adjust itself ever so slightly. I mean, looking at the front, this could do with lower arms. So I'm guessing we're going to have to do some front end work on this. We painted it 2 years ago, put new arches in it, new outer sills, new inner sills, did a bit of welding on the rear, so it's solid as a rock other than one patch under here which does need a little bit welded at the front that wasn't bad last year, but that needs doing for the test. And sadly it is now just a case of waiting. It's not adjusting much, but the heat always makes it move slightly. And if I set this, I know it's going to move. Let's see if we can still move it as it's cooling. Possibly not. I'm possibly going to have to heat this again. It's not ideal, but we don't have a choice. It's so corroded. It's just spinning again in the mole grips. It's been a reasonable video, this one, up until this point, and now, I mean, I'm really struggling to get the alignment done, but I have managed to get it to move. I didn't want to put more heat on, so if we can get it locked off at this, it's not too bad. I think what we're going to have to do with this is get it somewhere close and then fit some new parts, like new tractor ends, tie rods, refurb the front end like we have done the rear. That will allow us, yeah, I'm going to have to, I'm really struggling to get this locked off. It just doesn't want to do it. So I am going to have to put a bit more heat on and then wait again. And the issue I've got here is, what I need to try and do is know where the tracking needs to be when it's cold and then put it there, and then move the nut when it's hot, but so it settles in the right place when it's cold. Which yep, this is one that I can set the rear up, but it's going to be pretty difficult to get the front right. It's not going to be impossible, but it's painstakingly annoyingly. That is now fairly locked off, and I'm hoping when it cools, it will probably land about 0. At the minute it's on minus 0.2 mil. So it's just a case of letting that cool. If that cools, what I'm basically going to do is, this is now locked off and it's at 0.2-ish, and then the other side that I can move will match it off so that it dries perfectly straight, and then we'll have to replace parts. If we can get this to lock off at -1, I reckon that is what the other one will cool to. It doesn't help that these move when you lock them off anyway, so each time you try and set anything, it does move. So you can see the other side's cooling now. There's possibly some plain tie rods anyway, because as I'm moving this side, that side does seem to be moving its adjustment ever so slightly. So they're both locked off now, and I'm hoping I'm going to cut out some time of cooling for you, but once this is cooled, they should both settle on minus 0.1 of a mil, which should give us minus 0.2 total, which is pretty much bang in the middle of tolerance. Both cambers are in green. I think we're pretty much getting there now. There we go, you can see it starts to flicker between 2 and 1 as it cools. I'm hoping that they both then stay on that. I'm going to come out because I believe my job under here is done. Because they are both locked off and they're both matching. It's been a long, long day. I am going to be glad to get home. I'm hoping that you can see both of the readings. I'm just going to move you slightly. There we go. Hopefully that has done its cooling now. And to be fair, this is pretty much a spot on alignment now. But I would still advise all the front end to be changed. The bottom arms are very rusty and ropey, so for me it wants a pair of front arms, which I'd advise the SuperPro alloy upgrade if there's any stock and they're available. And as long as they are, a pair of those alloy arms, tie rods and trap rod ends, and then the underneath then with a final bit of welding and the paint job we did a couple of years ago and all the new suspension parts on the rear. Got a pretty good year 2000 classic that was ropey when it came in a couple of days ago, but she should be leaving us in very good condition. I've got it fairly close, which was difficult when everything was seized. So I'm pretty happy with that. It is staying. So it's within 0.1 of a mil. I mean, this is easily acceptable, but having OCD, they need to match for me. But I'm not going to go under and start fighting over 0.1 of a mil with seized settings, seized bars. If it wasn't seized, I'd go back under and redo that, but we're pretty much there now. I just need to lift it up and put the exhaust back on. And then other than the welding, she's ready to go for an MOT. So we've pretty much done for today now. Just need to lift it back up. We'll show you the final shot of the underneath. Show you the front end as well that needs the further work, because we are at a point where, other than the small amount of welding on the front that the customers requested, all the work is now done. We're also going to wash it before it goes for an MOT, because like we say, it has been off the road for a while. I'm not sure whether people are going to want a shortened, edited version of this, or whether they're going to want to see all the work actually gone into it. So it's something that if you're looking at doing this work yourself, then this video will help you in regards to that. as a bit of a tutorial. Just going to give my hands a good wash before we start handling the camera again. So I think what I'm going to need to do is pick up the light I've been using. It's a big snap-on flood, and this, once I grab hold of it correctly, will allow me to show you everything properly. So you can see how nice and fresh this now looks compared to what it did. Everything were rusty. We're now all spray sealed, and everything, it's a second hand but very good condition subframe, new Hardrace kit, new genuine anti-roll bar and anti-roll bar mounts. The only thing obviously that we need on the rear that I'm going to advise is handbrake cables and ABS sensors, so that we can get them mounted correctly up there. I am going to put some tyre wraps on just so that everything's secure, but just to show you the front, you can see the arms themselves. This one more so in particular is quite grotty. We did put pedal suspension on it maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, so that's nice and fresh. So with a pair of new arms, maybe a front anti-roll bar and drop links, tie rods and tractor ends, and the CV boot I've just noticed there that we're going to have to do for the test, then pretty much it will be a nice classic again. As you can see, we've done the welding on the sills, did some welding just at the back there and outer sills, so all the sills are nice and solid. It's had new ones, and that's the end of the job. Hopefully this has helped some people who are maybe planning on fitting a Hardrace kit, shows them what to do, what not to do. Don't make the mistakes I made. I'm a professional, or so I like to tell people, and I still made the errors. Like I say, it's been a long week putting things on and then realising I need to take things back off to put bits on I'd missed. We all do it. But the end job is very good. I'm hoping that this has helped some people. The video's not too long. I'm going to cut out what I can to try and shorten it, to try and keep it engaging, but try not to cut out anything that you need to see. Hopefully it's been good for you. If you can help us out by subscribing if you're not already subscribed. Obviously I'm going to put the exhaust back on, that I've not forgot. We are going to put the exhaust back on in a minute. I don't need to film that though, it's not part of the video. Like and subscribe, and that will help us out massively. So that's the Subaru Impreza rear suspension all sorted, with the full Hardrace arm kit installed and the second-hand subframe. Hopefully you picked up a few tips if you're tackling the job yourself, or at least enjoyed seeing the process. If you've got any questions, drop them down in the comments and I'll do my best to help. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss the next project we've got coming up. We've got plenty more work lined up on this Impreza as well as other builds in the garage. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.